Good morning to everyone. We are Marianela, Fabiana, and I'm Maria Elena. And in the following presentation, we're going to explain the basic principles of task-based approach and how to apply in a group of young learners trying to cater for the different learning styles. Now I'm going to talk about key concepts. The first one is what is a task-based approach. As David Newman says, task-based language teaching represents a body of principles and procedures for making communicative language teaching working class. In this definition, it focuses in the use of the authentic language through different and meaningful tasks. It has its origins in the communicative approach and is one application of this philosophical orientation. So what is a task? A task is a piece of work undertaken for oneself or for another, freely or for some reward. By task is meant the 100 things people do in everyday life, at work, at play, and in between. And this definition is about a real task, things that people achieve through language, everyday language. And when we use a real task in order to teach something, they become in pedagogical tasks. The main characteristics of task are: its primary focus is meaning, it has no linguistic outcome, it's a complete unit, and there is a relationship between pedagogical tasks and real-world tasks. And there are different task types, different classifications. The most known is the one developed by Prabhu. He proposed a classification taking into account that for a successful communication, it is necessary to bridge a communication gap. So he proposed that the three main communication gaps are information gap, reasoning gap, and opinion gap. What is a learning style and how we classify the different learning styles? The term learning styles refers to the fact that every student learns in a different way. Technically, an individual's learning style refers to the preferential way in which the student absorbs, processes, comprehends, and retains information. Individual learning styles depend on cognitive, emotional, and environmental factors, as well as one's prior experience. It's important for us, the teachers, educators, to understand the differences in their students' learning styles so we can implement best practice strategies into our daily activities, curriculum, and assessment.
The most common classification of the different learning styles is the one that talks about three categories: visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. And this is a classification that we will be mainly focusing in, although we will also mention that there are other classifications of learning styles that every teacher must bear in mind when planning their classes and when catering for the different learning students' needs. Okay, I will start by explaining the visual learners. These kind of learners prefer the use of images, maps, and graphic organizers to understand the new information. They are the kind of learner that prefer to see the information visually represented in order to internalize it. On the other hand, we have auditory learners that are the ones that understand new concepts by listening and speaking in situations such as group discussions. These kind of learners usually use repetition as a studying technique. And they are the ones that prefer to discuss the new information, to talk and to listen and to communicate with another people, explaining the new concept and listening to the other person explaining the new concepts, and this is the way in which they internalize the new information. Then at last we have the kinesthetic learners that are the ones that learn best through tactile representations of the information. They learn and understand by touching and by manipulating objects. As I mentioned before, there are also other kinds of classifications of learning styles that are not as common and as well known as the ones that I have mentioned, but they are also important and they also need to be paid attention to. We have field-dependent learners and field-independent learners. The field-dependent learners are the ones that prefer to learn in context, and on the other hand, the field-independent learners are the ones that prefer to learn in a systematic and step-by-step order. Then we also have analytical learners and global learners. Analytical styles are the ones in which students prefer to learn alone and by studying and by being in touch alone with a piece of information and by repeating and reading. On the other hand, we have global styles that are the ones in which students prefer to learn in groups and through the use of the language rather than just by studying alone. Then, at last, we have introverted learner and extroverted learners. The introverted learners are the ones that are quiet people that prefer to study and to be in small groups of people. And on the other hand, we have extroverted learners that are people that like to be in contact with other people and to be in big groups, and they feel comfortable with that reality. Okay, now we will be stating a question, and we will try to answer it. And the question is, how can we cater for all the different learning styles using a task-based approach and considering a group of young learners with a B1 level? Okay. We believe that the task-based approach is an excellent way to contemplate the different learning styles. And to illustrate this idea, we considered a group of young children aged 8 to 9 and created a task chain that takes into account all the different learning styles. Okay, the topic will be food, and at the end of the lessons, the students will be able to identify the different food types of foods and drinks, and also the necessary vocabulary to act and react at a restaurant situation.
As a warm-up activity, students will draw their favorite food and present their option to a partner. This activity will surely cater to our visual as well as lexical learners. Then, students will be presented with flashcards with the names of different foods, which they will match to the corresponding plastic food objects hidden in the classroom. This activity will be suitable for tactile learners because they will have the opportunity to actually manipulate the objects. Now, the teacher will read a short story about a person that goes to a fast food restaurant. Vocabulary from the previous activity will reappear and students will be introduced to new vocabulary such as cashier and customer. This activity represents a good opportunity for our more lexical learners. Moving on, students will complete a fast food menu that incorporates their newly acquired vocabulary. There will be two different handsheets, both with images and words. Students from Team A and Team B will exchange information in order to write the right word for the image or draw the right image for the word. This will present a good opportunity for our visual and kinesthetic learners. Next, students will be presented with a role-play game. The class will be transformed in a fast food restaurant. Students will be both customers and cashiers. They will take turns in order to make sure everybody plays both roles. When playing customers, they will have to make the decision of what to buy based on the menu offered to them by the cashiers. Finally, sitting in a row, students will explain their classmates the choices they made as customers. This activity will surely engage kinesthetic and extroverted learners as well as provide a distended fun moment for the whole class. This task change was planned considering that young learners need different, not too long activities in which they can explore, act, draw, give opinions, and have fun. To conclude, we believe that every teacher should plan their classes taking into consideration the needs of students, creating activities that cater for all different learning styles. The task-based approach provides us with more resources to do so, since it refers us to activities we do in our daily lives and situations in which all of our senses are involved. This was our presentation. We hope you enjoy it.